To understand why honey never spoils, you first need to understand why everything else does. Food spoils because of microorganisms, bacteria, mold, and yeast that land on food, find the conditions they need to survive, and multiply. What they need most is moisture. Water inside food is what allows microbial life to grow, spread, and break the food down. Remove the right conditions and the microorganisms can't establish themselves. The food survives. This is the entire logic behind drying, salting, and pickling. They all work by making the environment hostile to microbial life in one way or another. Honey does it naturally, and it does it two ways at once. The first is water content. Honey is roughly 80% sugar and only 20% water, far less moisture than almost any other food. But it goes further than that. The sugars in honey are hygroscopic, meaning they actively pull water toward themselves. Any microorganism that lands in honey and tries to absorb moisture to survive finds the opposite happening. The honey draws the water out of it instead, dehydrating and killing it before it can take hold. There simply isn't enough free water in honey for anything to grow, and what little water exists gets monopolized by the sugar. The second reason is acidity. Honey has a pH of between 3.2 and 4.5, making it about as acidic as a tomato. That level of acidity is lethal to the vast majority of bacteria, which require a near-neutral environment to function. Honey also contains small amounts of hydrogen peroxide, produced naturally during its creation, which adds a mild antibacterial effect on top of the acidity. Between the low pH and the hydrogen peroxide, anything that survives the dehydration effect faces a second hostile barrier. Both of these properties come directly from how bees make honey. It starts with nectar, a thin, watery liquid that bees collect from flowers, which at this stage contains up to 80% water and would spoil rapidly on its own. Bees carry the nectar back to the hive in a second stomach, where enzymes begin breaking the complex sugars down into simpler ones. Back in the hive, the nectar is passed between worker bees repeatedly, each transfer adding more enzymes and evaporating more water. It's then deposited into honeycomb cells, where bees fan it continuously with their wings, accelerating evaporation further until the water content drops below 20%. At that point, the bees seal the cell with wax. One of those enzymes added during the process is glucose oxidase, which reacts with the remaining water to produce the hydrogen peroxide. The acidity is a byproduct of the same enzyme activity. Everything that makes honey last forever isn't added or processed in, it's produced by the bees themselves as a direct consequence of how they turn nectar into food. Click the video on your screen right now and I'll explain another everyday mystery.